Hello, I'm Dan Genovese, Director of Consulting at EnerCom, and I'm joined today by John Benton. He's the Chief Development Officer for Hydroacoustics, and Hydroacoustics will be presenting in person at 3:30 p.m. Mountain Time at the Energy Venture Investment Summit on campus at the Colorado School of Mines. That's February 17th, 2022. So coming up here pretty quickly. John, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome, and glad to have you with us. The first thing I'll ask you for our viewers is tell us a little bit about Hydroacoustics and what you do.
Sure. We're a 40-year-old R&D company, and we've developed commercial technologies that use low-frequency sound. We were formed initially from acoustic research that was conducted at Harvard. That was developed when that technology was acquired by General Dynamics Corporation. We've got more than 40 years of experience in development of application of low frequency acoustic generation equipment, that's a mouthful, in harsh environments. We've got 88 US and 26 foreign patents and applications.
Yeah, so within the energy space, specifically oil and gas, what problem are you looking to solve and who is your customer?
I want to give you just a little bit of background on a couple other things, and we'll jump into that.
Yeah.
We have proven acoustic technology for subsea applications for the US Department of Defense and for private industry. Some of our devices are in every US Navy submarine. We have some diver interdiction systems that we also use to protect harbors from terrorist attacks. We work in the oil and gas industry in a couple of spaces. One of them is developing improved methods for ocean-based 3D seismic data collection. We have an ongoing project right now with a private company and the Norwegian government. But as what's most applicable to our discussion today is that we've developed and deployed a device that uses low frequency seismic pulses to improve oil recovery. It is well known that low frequency seismic improves oil recovery. It's been going on since back in the 1950s with anecdotal evidence from earthquakes. The issue has been to develop a simple and reliable device that can operate for a long time in a harsh oil field environment, which is what we have done. We've got a couple other projects going on in the background for hydrocarbon recovery for contaminated groundwater and some other confidential projects that sort of keep going in the background. But mostly we're focused on deploying and commercializing this oil improved recovery device.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the economics, the value proposition. If I'm an oil and gas company, what can I expect from deploying hydroacoustics technology?
So, sort of think about what problem do we solve and our customer and client, and then we'll talk a little bit about the economics. Notionally, what we're trying to address is how to recover additional oil from existing reservoirs using a method that doesn't involve a lot of expensive restimulation efforts, such as hydraulic fracturing or acidizing, or expensive processes like chemical floods. As you know, those methods are pretty energy intensive. They have a very large impact on the environment. Particularly compared to our oil recovery tool. And those methods a lot of times will only accelerate recovery as opposed to adding additional reserves. Our device mobilizes trapped oil, and that adds and increases proven reserves overall. As you know, conventional reservoirs, they'll typically recover between 15 and 30% of the original oil in place with primary and secondary recovery techniques. So you're leaving about 70% of the oil in the ground for the most part. When you think about unconventional reservoirs, such as, for example, the DJ Basin in the Niobrara, that'll leave more than 90% of the oil in the ground when the horizontal wells reach their economic limit.
Yeah.
So when you think about for us, what do we do? And you think about it, the advantages that we have. We don't have a lot of direct competition in this space. We know of one other company that utilizes the knowledge about low frequency seismic for improving recovery, and they developed a device, but the reliability has been an issue for them. Ours is pretty simple. It's about 3 foot long. It's got 2 moving parts in it, so it works pretty well. The indirect competition obviously is from other stimulation methods, which we've talked about, a bit more expensive, larger environmental footprint, and may or may not increase recoverable reserves. Our advantages, we're relatively inexpensive to run. We affect multiple wells with a single installation, add almost nothing to the monthly field direct operating cost. As we mentioned, it's simple, it's durable, it's scalable, adds nothing to the oil field's current carbon footprint. In fact, as you think about it, improving recovery from existing fields reduces the need for expensive new drilling and replace reserves and more or less continue to meet our demand for oil. you asked me a little bit about the economics.
Yeah.
So you think about it, let's look at it from an operator side. All-in cost to run one of these things, including your field work and everything, is probably going to be between $250,000 and $350,000, somewhere in that range. And that cost to them, I've baked in a reasonable profit back to a manufacturer, because we've looked at this from a business standpoint as well. Our current deployment, the uplift in there has been about a 30 to 35 barrel a day increase that we've attributed to it. And that's on a base production level of about 90 to 100 barrels a day. That's come from a number of wells within about a 2-mile circle, which is our area of influence around the injection well where we deployed the device. So you kind of think about, well, that's pretty simple economics. You take that uplift, which has remained steady for over 7 months. If you assume that the operator has an 85% net revenue interest, net back on current oil prices, maybe $35, you get a payout of about a year for a 30 barrel a day uplift. And if the uplift remains constant, which so far it has held up over 7 months with no indication of declining, then you think about it in terms of an FD&A cost, it's less than $7 a barrel for an FD&A cost for an installation like that. And then you compare that to having to go out and drill wells to replace those reserves. The economics get pretty attractive for the operator. Obviously investors are going to look at it for what's their value proposition. That's the addressable market for us. And we've done a little bit of work on that. Starting with, we looked at just water flood projects in the US, which is a natural place for deploying this device. There's about 19,000 injection wells in the United States alone that are suitable for deployment, given our current design. We're working on some improvements to that would probably add another 5,000 wells. And that's just in the United States alone. And when you think about that value proposition, there's potential for deployment outside the United States. There's potential for deployments in unconventional reservoirs, which we don't know yet whether or not that would work. But seeing the size of the prize being much larger, with 90% of that oil left in the ground, the device is designed. It's simple and it's scalable. We can adapt that to work in existing oil fields almost anywhere in the world. We've had some discussions with one of the state oil companies in the Middle East. We backed off from that because we wanted to get some results here in the US before we went back and sat down with them. We did do some simple business models, but certainly there's going to be more sophisticated investors that will look at this. But we think it's a pretty attractive financial equation for both the operator and the investor.
Okay. And now, if you're out there, if you're looking for some strategic partners, what would be a typical profile in terms of their well inventory? Are you looking for something that is end of life, or maybe a little bit earlier than that?
We would certainly look at end of life, but we also, when you think about the sort of the life cycle of an asset, where you have the exploration phase, appraisal phase, development phase, and then you sort of get into that harvest mode. We think that harvest mode would be a great spot for people to start to take a look at this and look at the deployments in harvest mode. In terms of unconventionals, which we'd love to find someone to try this out. We certainly have not put it in a horizontal application. We got a long ways down the road with a company here in the DJ to the point of well selection, and then they got acquired by somebody else. And so that went out the window. But we want to do that one pretty early in the life. Because one of the concerns that you have with a device that uses low frequency seismic is gas saturation in the reservoir. So we wouldn't want a high level of gas saturation in the reservoir. So with unconventionals, you'd want to get started pretty early.
Okay. What does the next year, 2 years look for you guys when you kind of think about how you guys are moving forward now and some of the conversations that you're having on the books? What does the next couple of years look like for hydroacoustics?
What we'd like to do, at least this next year, is get perhaps up to another half a dozen deployments in different fields. The company that we're working with now in Texas is working on a second deployment for next year. We're talking to a couple of other companies. We've got one other company that will look at us for deployment second or third quarter, much larger company with a fairly large asset base, a publicly traded company. So that's sort of the ones that we have on the go right now. Certainly would entertain several others to get involved, and we are continuing that discussion. We've got an agreement to work with one of the investment groups that work in oil and gas investments to help us expand our contact base. So we're a small company. I'm the only oil and gas person in there, and I don't know everybody. So it's helpful to get the word out and get more knowledge out there for other people to take a look at this.
Well, certainly the Energy Venture Investment Summit at the Colorado School of Mines is going to help you do that. I want to encourage everybody that's viewing, if they want more information, first of all, please register for the conference. It's going to be in person, and Hydroacoustics will be presenting 3:30 p.m. Mountain Time on campus in Golden, Colorado, February 17th. Certainly, you can contact me. My contact information will be in the editor's note on this interview. Contact me. I can put you in touch with John, and you can begin your due diligence and learning more about the company. If you're a operator, if you are a service company, I'm sure an investor, he'd be happy to share some information and see if there is a way to work out a strategic partnership or an investment with him. John, thank you for your time today. We look forward to seeing you in February.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the time you took to talk to me, and really appreciate the opportunity to present come February.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Thanks, John.
Thank you.